Oldham sits between the rivers Irk and Medlock, about 7 miles northeast of Manchester. There was little to speak of it until the advent of the Industrial Revolution, when at its zenith it became the international centre of textile manufacturing in the world. To me, buildings say a lot about the pride that residents have of the place where they live. Neglect has a destructive and depressing influence that no one can afford to nurture. Oldham's history is therefore inextricably linked to the textile industry. However, by the mid-19th century, the demise of the once great textile dynasties saw the last textile spinning mill in Oldham close in 1998. The passage of time has seen many of the iconic buildings from Oldham's past fall prey to overseas competition, decay, demolition and modernisation. Unless we act now, it will be increasingly difficult for the current and future generations to relate to Oldham's illustrious past. The Town Hall is one of only a few remaining iconic structures that has now been saved from total dereliction. Oldham has already lost the unusual Grade 2 listed Clegg Street bale store warehouse to the ravages of wet rot, and the locally famous Mumps Bridge to the Metrolink development, along with innumerable textile mills and local institutions, so that the skyline of the town is fast becoming unrecognisable. The old town hall was built around 1840 and was in continuous use until the mid-1980s. Thereafter, it was to fall into disrepair to the extent that by 2008 it was almost derelict and the roof near to collapse. In 2012, plans were approved for redevelopment work, which has now neared completion in 2017. £37 million has been invested from external sources and Oldham Council funds to transform this semi-derelict town hall into a state-of-the-art cinema, complemented by bars and restaurants. Half the building has been gutted and the outer glass shell constructed to provide compliance with current building regulation. The concourse to the front and side has been paved to make a pedestrian-only area. The old town hall's geography created many logistical problems relating to adequate ingress and egress for the general public. These problems were overcome by constructing a steel and glass parade to the Clegg Street elevation of the building. Those who can remember the old town hall will know that the Clegg Street external wall of the building was constructed using an inlay of white glazed brick that has been incorporated on what has now become an inner wall. The Industrial Revolution brought unprecedented benefits and opportunities. Unfortunately, not everyone would share in these. Most of the wealth created in Oldham was hemorrhaged away, so that today Oldham has little to show from the time of its world-class status. Oldham's industrial development played a big role in the creation of trade unionism, votes for men and women, and later the welfare state. The steel and glass Clegg Street elevation completely hides the old building, but by contrast the Grief Street elevation remains unchanged. Where appropriate, many of the original features of the building have been retained. Oldham has not had the recognition that it deserves. Rather, it became known as a grimy Lancashire mill town. Oldham, like most of the Lancashire textile mill towns, developed out of frenzied expansion that epitomised the Industrial Revolution. Hundreds of mills and thousands of two-up, two-down cottages with their coal fires would change the environment to one of grime and congestion. Today, Oldham is making a valiant attempt to reinvent itself. The newly established Oldham University, together with the Metrolink service, gives the town a new status that will enhance the town's image and attract visitors from other areas. If we are not careful, the textile history of Oldham is in danger of being gradually airbrushed away. So the concept of Parliament Square is a welcome way of remembering the town's proud heritage. It is unwise to spend too much time reflecting on the past, but I would venture to suggest that Oldham, despite our best efforts, will never again match, much less surpass, that which our forebears created over 150 years ago. Some claim this project ill-founded, but I am not convinced. I will, however, acknowledge it to be open to conjecture that the return on investment will be qualified by the passage of time. It is almost incomprehensible that this relatively small town supported more spindleage than Germany and France combined. I have had many years of experience in the textile industry, and so it saddened me to see how Oldham is losing its connection with the founders of the textile revolution that would eventually raise Oldham to world-class status. Rapidly diminishing evidence of Oldham's former prowess for visitors to see is in danger of being lost forever. The redevelopment of the old library to become Oldham's Heritage Centre will conserve some of the history of this great Lancashire town. It must never be forgotten that the rise of Oldham to become the world leader in textile manufacture came about as much by the toil and sweat of its thousands of men, women and child textile workers as any other single factor.